We said we weren't going to do any more conference realignment videos, and we're not. Until the Noles get out, unless something massive happens, we're not. Today is not a conference realignment video. It is a call out, a massive homer and massive hater in Paul Finebaum, who has not been a big fan of the Seminoles since about 2013. That's about when Finebaum rose to national fame and when Florida State ended the SEC's run of dominance in the national championship game. But before we give him a hard time for his comments back in 2013, or before we get into any of that crap, let's talk about what's happened and what's gone on and what Mr. Finebaum has said, because it certainly does seem to be pretty interesting to me. Not too long ago, back in May, Paul Finebaum said this.
Although I think of the three schools that matter in the ACC, I think FSU is at the bottom of the most desired favored nation list. What I keep hearing from people is nobody in the league that matters liked what they did at that Board of Trustees meeting, and they felt like, do you want to invite a group that just has an Animal House toga party right in the middle and for everybody to see on Facebook Live? I think Florida State is similar. I don't think they're nearly as attractive as they think they are. Besides, Florida already covers that part of the world, so I think Miami, to me, it would be next. I think it's an important part of the country. It's a very populated part of the country too.
So he talks about Miami being next up for conference realignment. Now, this is back in May, right? And so things have changed. Obviously, you haven't heard Miami's name at all with any conference realignment talk. But, at that point, he thought that maybe because there's a big population in Miami. I mean, nobody goes to the games. Nobody watches. We just had an ranked SEC opponent come into Miami last week. And credit to Miami for winning that game. But nobody showed up. Nobody went to it. Can you imagine the SEC powers going down and playing in Miami? I mean, first of all, it was back in May, several months ago. But this was stupid back then. So let alone him trying to pass off. Obviously, he's not trying to pass that off now. Nobody's mentioning Miami in talks around conference realignment at this point. But it just shows how out of touch he is with this conversation. Here's something he said directly after the Board of Trustees meeting. The Board of Trustees meeting that happened around that beginning of August time frame. Everybody thought that we might announce something. Here's what he said in a live ESPN interview. Take a listen.
Singing Kumbaya, which is all the commissioner has done so far, will not be the answer. But Stephen A., if you look at Clemson and Florida State, there are no two better fits in the world to the SEC than those two. They've won national championships in the last 10 years. They recruit at the highest level. They have good coaches. They have phenomenal traditions, and they're both in states with SEC schools.
So we went from Miami being a better fit to just a few months later, after that Board of Trustees meeting, when Paul thought that maybe something was going to be happening. Oh, well, let me jump back on this train and we'll hype up Florida State. We'll hype up Clemson because those are the best two fits. He literally said those are the best two fits, no better teams in the country that fit what the SEC does than Florida State and Clemson. That's a departure from what he said when he talked about Miami. I think that it's interesting to hear the flip-flop, but Paul's not done. Paul's not done flip-flopping. He's not done being a politician. He's not done being a lobbyist for the SEC. He goes back to where he's going to flip-flop one more time. And just this week, he said this.
Although I think of the three schools that matter in the ACC, I think FSU is at the bottom of the most desired favored nation list. What I keep hearing from people is nobody in the league that matters liked what they did at that Board of Trustees meeting, and they felt like, do you want to invite a group that just has an Animal House toga party right in the middle and for everybody to see on Facebook Live, and that really went down poorly. I don't think anyone really thought that was a great idea. But I think at least in the moment it hurt FSU. And I think another thing, and this is where North Carolina shines, is I really think the SEC likes the idea of these prominent premier state universities like Oklahoma, like Texas, like Florida.
All right, so we'll break down both parts of that. So he has an issue with, he says we're third in the ACC ranking, right, as far as being attractive at this point. And to me, that's silly, just due to the fact that a month ago he called us the most attractive, us in Clemson, the most attractive, what the SEC might be looking for program out there. And so now he's flip-flopped, and he got on the Board of Trustees meeting, and he was saying, oh, that was such a bad idea. Nobody thought that was a good idea. Meanwhile, the day after the Board of Trustees meeting is when that first clip was played, when he was on an interview with ESPN and on SportsCenter, and he was hyping Florida State, saying that the commissioner's not doing anything, and Florida State's got to get out, and they fit the SEC better than anything. And now that time has gone by, and no change happened. See, what I think happened was that Finebaum thought that something may happen around that August 15th deadline. And so he was trying to be ahead of it. He was trying to, oh yeah, Florida State would be a great fit. Oh, Clemson would be a great fit. And now that he knows that Florida State's not going to be in the SEC or any other conference until 2025 at least, he can go back to bashing them. He can go back to saying that it was no good. It was a bad idea. He was hyping it the day after, but now he's saying that nobody thought that was a good idea. I couldn't believe you streamed that on Facebook Live, some Animal House party that you've got. Shout out the Animal House in the Discord. But it's just such a flip-flop, right? And you guys know Finebaum. You know what he does. You know the way that he tries to, he's getting me to make a reaction video right now out of it. But it's just such BS, right? He has no legitimate sources on this. He's an SEC commenter. He's not plugged in with what's happening. He's going to ride or die for his program. He's always been an FSU hater because FSU has done things that the SEC doesn't like. They ruined their streak of dominance in the BCS. They play like an SEC program. They perform like an SEC program. They just beat the heck out of LSU 2 years in a row. Though he picked the Tigers both times. That's not the only time he's picked against the Noles. He picks the SEC team every time the Noles take on an SEC team. Do you remember his comments about what Florida State would not be able to do against Auburn in the national championship? That team of destiny, that team that beat Georgia, that team that beat Alabama, that team that had all that luck that year. There was no way the Noles were going to find a way to beat them. Well, guess what? Paul was wrong about that, and he's wrong about this too. Paul Finebaum is an absolute clown show, and he's probably just playing to a base. Maybe calling him a clown show is a little bit much. But the flip-flopping 3 times and just not being realistic, not being honest to your listeners, to your followers, everyone else, we'll see. Just absolutely crazy in my opinion. We're not doing a live today. I'm on the road, as you can tell, different setting. So wanted to get on here, chat with you guys just a little bit, talk about this. Instead of doing the live, jump in our Discord. There's a link to it in the description. Come hang out with us all day. The Noles will kick off at noon tomorrow. Because we didn't go live today, we will go to live tomorrow as soon as the game's over, or maybe even while the game's wrapping up. So catch us there. Make sure you're subscribed to this video. Had to call it out. You guys were talking about Finebaum. You guys were messaging me about it. Wanted to play it. We kept the receipts. That's what we do here, is we keep the receipts. This is not a receipt, but look, we keep the receipts, all right? We hold people accountable. Finebaum, you're welcome to come on the show anytime and try and back up your BS. So thank you guys for watching. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. We'll talk to you soon. Go Noles.